So there was a similar trade again in London session. This morning I took it and afterwards I went off the screens, which is good, I think. But a repetition of that trade actually took place. So the 4 hour, I always mark out my key levels. And what I see is that price is being held up by this 4 hour gap. It did it once, twice, thrice, and twice. I have no idea. So, okay, let's immediately drop to the 5 minute because we do have everything in here for the forever model. So there is a tiny, but at least SMT. So there is a low printed within this H4 gap. So it all starts with an SMT. It is small, but it is there. So tick in the box, high time frame SMT, then we zoom in. And because this takes place on a 4 hour level, so let's say we have high time frame key levels, I don't use the 1 minute because it presents with a lot of chop. Just to show you, this is a lot of chop. How to trade this, it's just quite difficult. So let's start the whole hindsight charades. We're going to do the replay. Let's start here. Price so far is not doing anything much. So let's delete this. We do have a low printed and the low was tagged. Oh wait, this is just the SMT. So we have an SMT already and we have a change in the state. Let's just use this one. So you think, hey, this is going to look quite nice. But then it just drops immediately. So this is something to take into account, that within London, you often get fake outs. So we have a 15-minute gap here, but there's also a huge 5-minute gap there as well. So I'll mark it out. I won't do anything with it. So this just requires patience to see if you actually get a proper setup. Because I do want to have a clear fair value gap ideally to work from. So I'll just mark this and I'll mark this. What is price giving us? So what you can see now is that we create a lower time frame SMT. So we have a lower low for NQ and a higher low for ES. So that adds to the confluence of the forever model. What we also see is that we create a 5-minute gap here. I don't trade off such a gap when there is no change in the state, because this is not the change in the state anymore. For me, this has become the change in the state. And it doesn't mean that this does not hold any value, because this actually really nicely aligns with the fair value gap. But then if for me it's an indication that price is showing some momentum. So let's just move this one here. So we have this low, and then this area aligns with the 236 level, which also gives me the 618 level as a potential target point, take profit. So what happens? So price is just trying to break out. It drops again below the level. So now it actually would suggest that it acts as resistance and we might move down. But here on the ES, you don't really have that level. So we wait, and now we get a break above the change in the state, which, yeah, so how to address this? This is, let's say, the ambiguity sometimes that you have with trading. So there is some, this requires a discretionary approach. But at least what we can see is that we have one close and a second close above. The moment you have that and you have a candle, then what I do is I draw a fib from the last move. So we have this move up, down, and then we have the move that breaks the change in the state. I add my golden fibs. And normally what I really like is when things align. So we have this alignment of the fair value gap. It overlaps with the area between the EQ and the 618 of this move up. So this is the ideal opportunity to go long. You can do it at the 50, half of the fair value gap, or the 618. And this is where you had, depends on your risk appetite. You can, normally I just take the low and I target the 618. And I leave a position open to maybe have a runner or to close out, whatever. Maybe in less profit, maybe in more profit. So let's see what happens. We get a move up, so we also drag this up. And then you can, I would also move this one up. It doesn't help the RR, so you can actually consider just scaling in a little bit here. Because here you can see it does a retest of the change in the state. And now I'm in the trade. And what you see, okay, so that goes really quick. So in this 5 minutes, we have a drop into the 50% level, actually also in the fair value gap, but it barely did, it just missed that 618 level. So it's always good to scale in. So we have this target, the RR is 1.28. So if price moves here, you could also consider either moving your stop to this wick or maybe leave it a bit here for a better RR. But that depends on your risk appetite. What I normally do is when price drops into the change of the state and it breaks out, now it would not give me a proper level, but as I did this morning, I do a second entry on the change in the state. Couldn't paste. Okay, fine. Then I do like this. So I have a change in the state and then I trail my stop higher, because if I get a retest of this level, I don't want to give myself a large stop, because if price drops and it drops below this, then most likely it will run the low. So I can go for a better RR with a similar amount of risk. But I don't know if it will give. It doesn't. So here it gets interesting, right? So this trade is not valid, but we have a good trade here. And I would scale out at the 168 level most of it. But what you can see is that it actually filled the entire 5 minute gap. So what is, oh, I still have my drawings from this morning's win. What actually happened in the meantime, because I was not really looking at. So ES was actually pretty much front running this entire move. So we got back Asia low is not relevant anymore. Or at least not so much, because here you can see that it actually went further up, and that means that there is a potential for a drawdown here, which in the end occurred. So you can take profits here, or maybe leave a runner and place your stop below here to see that, because for me this is a bit tricky, because it's very sensible for price to first run these lows and then continue higher. So normally I try to do a soft stop loss, not a hard stop loss, but just wait until I get a close here and then try to get the best exit possible if we get a close below this level. Look, because see, it runs the stops, does it again, and then the chances of it continuing is pretty significant. But here it did not. So yeah, this is always the trade-off. And what I realized from this morning, and that's also respecting the bigger time frame order flow, is that the only thing we did, apart from this move here, was making lower lows and lower highs. So we have a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. So getting the exit near 618 or similar is just fine. And I think, I don't know what I did. So what happens afterwards? Oh, this is actually current price. It dropped well into the red, so it's good to get your exit here. So this is actually a good setup, a breakout, retest, and move to the 618 level. Wonderful.